Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome. It is 7 o'clock, and we're going to get started. Uh, so, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone that came out to our convention a couple weeks ago or late April. I think we had a really great time, and everyone seemed to enjoy the walks and the socials and the workshops. And so appreciate y'all coming out, those that did and those that couldn't. Sorry. We hope to see you at the next one. But I was working hard to try to get Rachel there as well to join us at a workshop, but unfortunately she could not. So we decided we would have her as a guest on our follow-up webinar after convention. And so she will be joining us tonight. Um, Rachel Bush is the associate professor for graphic design and also the internship coordinator with Austin Peay State University. And just to give you some background, we have been working with her and the university for about 3 years now, maybe four, I'm not sure. But with the interns there at the university, and they provide she's worked with a program there where they provide support for actually our clubs that need help in graphic design and banner design and things like that for the website. So we're happy to have her join us so she can share more about this program. And maybe it's something that your club would like to participate in. It runs every year, I believe, beginning in the fall. And so if you're interested, please follow up with us and we'll see how we can connect you with her students so that they can provide support for your club. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Rachel, and welcome, Rachel. It's nice to meet you and see you, and looking forward to your discussion.
Hi, Henry. I just realized that you asked me how you could introduce me, and I went to get my bio and I never sent it. So I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So I'll introduce myself for you. I apologize. So thank you for the introduction. So my name is Rachel Bush. I am from West Virginia, but I live in Tennessee. I've got 4 kids. I can't believe I even say that. And I'm very into the walking space and all that kind of stuff. But so I played soccer in college actually. But my heart sort of was in art, so I got a degree in graphic design and then went on and got a further degree in graphic design from University of Memphis. And I have been at in the university setting basically ever since I was 18. My first design job was at a university. My first internship was at a university. So I teach a class, and the walking clubs have been wonderful in being clients for that class and sort of. I try to make the class better every year, and I've taught it for 10 years now, and the walking clubs have been so great in sort of adapting to that. So I'm going to share my screen and sort of walk through what he was talking about and give you a lot more detail. Um, Anything I share today, I can send you or anybody um, if you would like to have any of the files, except for the examples one. Some of that has contracts and stuff in it, but the first document I can just share with you. So let me pull that up really quick. Okay, so let me make sure this is, there we go. All right. So I am at a university called Austin Peay State University. It's in Clarksville, Tennessee, so I'll talk about that. But the class is called Design Center. So I'll talk about the university and the class through this. So what is Design Center? So well, first off, where are we located? So if you know where Nashville is, then you know where we are. So we're northwest of Nashville, about 30 to 40 minutes. Several of our clients come from Nashville. I'll show you that. But we're in Clarksville, right on the Kentucky border. If you know where Fort Campbell is, if anybody military in here know where Fort Campbell is, That's where we're located. The city is about 200,000 people. Austin Peay State University is about 10,000. Our art department is about 350 students, and of those 350 students, about 100 or 120 are graphic design majors. We also have animation majors and studio majors. So that's a little bit about us. But the course I teach is called Design Center, and it's an upper level graphic design course taught there. It's taught every fall, like he said. And it's basically a class dedicated to helping nonprofits, but it's in turn helping our students. So when I first started teaching it, it was sort of rocky because I was learning it and learning the process, learning what to teach, how to teach. But I think it's smoothed out quite a bit, but I can always improve. So I'm always looking to improve. So the class is design and service learning course. It's hands-on. So instead of like most of our students work with hypotheticals, right? In graphic design one, graphic design two, we'll say, hey, make this logo for this, or we'll give them a project, and it's just not real world. But this is the most real world they can get. So I tell them, I'm also the internship coordinator, and I tell them the most important classes they take are internships in Design Center because it's actual practical experience. So when they go to a job interview, they can say, they say, what practical experience do you have outside the classroom? They actually have it within the school. So the projects are by definition independent and they vary greatly. So whereas in a normal class, everybody's doing the same thing. This class, every single student is doing something completely different. And it's sort of great and fantastic in a way, but it's challenging in other ways. So what you're seeing is a little tack of like where we're located in Tennessee. But on the right side is a brochure that a student did for Habitat for Humanity of Clarksville, Tennessee. And throughout this presentation, you'll sort of see several student examples of what we've made for clients, and I'll talk about them for a second. And then I'll show you another presentation of just examples. So, what are our goals and objectives? So, basically, I'll skim through these. We don't have to read them like very thoroughly, but I can skim through each. So, it's
I'm sorry,
advanced.
Rachel. We just see it just says design center.
Oh, really? I'm so sorry. It says I've skimmed on or so
On
you
my
don't see
screen.
Habitat for Humanity?
No, man.
Okay, let's try this again. I'll
No.
just share. I apologize. I thought you guys were seeing. All right, so now do you see it?
Yes.
Okay, you see Habitat for Humanity. Okay, so that was a brochure we did, and then on the left is what I was talking about. So I thought you guys were seeing this the whole time. I apologize. Tell me if you guys see the next page. So I'm on page 3. Do you see dogs?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I guess it just didn't quite tag along. Okay, I apologize. Okay, so the goals and objectives of the class. So, um, I teach in visual communication. So, all along the way, I just try to get them better at graphic design skills, but they're also learning how to interpret what clients say. So, like, what are they saying? Who is their target audience? Um, and then learning basically graphic design principles, so the software. So they're learning the software of it. And then process. So like I'll walk you through the process. So I teach them about contracts and invoices and project briefs and all of that kind of stuff. And then I teach them how to present. So not like present like I'm presenting, but I teach them how to present their work in a manner that is real world. So I'll show you some examples of that soon. On the left is an animal rescue shelter in Nashville, Tennessee, and we were able to do a series of mailers for them. So that's what you're seeing. All right, I flipped the flip. So if you don't see a postcard, let me know. So on the right is a postcard for Harpeth Conservatory, which is another Nashville client, and we were able to do a mailer for them as well. So the class details. So this is like the practical side of things. So the class is capped at 18 students. We have an 18-to-1 ratio for our studio level classes, and I meet with them for 6 hours a week. So it's either 3 times a week for 2 hours or 2 times a week for 3 hours. So just to give you a little insight of how often I see them. Um, we only do it in the fall. We tried to do it every semester, but it was a little challenging because I'm the only one that teaches it, and we couldn't get in the rotation. So, right here, it says each student will be partnered with 3 separate clients. That's not entirely true. It can be true. So the way I run it is each client is guaranteed 2 clients. So that's a guarantee of 2 clients. And then if they prove to me and they check some boxes, um, that they can continue working with more clients, then they can get a third client. So they can get 2 to 3 clients. Now, here's a part that sometimes makes or breaks nonprofits, and I do understand. So I want to spend a little time on this part, which is the cost. So when I started this, we didn't charge anything. So I started this class 10 years ago. We didn't charge anything, it was free. And we were lucky enough to get a lot of clients. However, those clients and the quality of the clients we were obtaining ended up being poor. I'll say that. And they would ghost our students or they wouldn't respond. They weren't really invested. And so after about 5 years of teaching the class, I also realized I wasn't able to teach invoicing or contracts, and I wasn't able to teach a lot of that stuff. And so I finally just went up the chain at my university and I just said, listen, internships are paid. Why can't we charge for this class? And so they said, why don't you do a trial run? Start at $100 and see if clients stick around. And they did. And not only did they stick around, but they were more invested. And it wasn't enough to run them away. And after about 2 years of doing that, maybe a year or and a half or something like that, we bumped it up to 200. So what we do is we charge nonprofits $200. Sometimes I think you guys could ask Henry about that as far as who pays that fees for walking clubs. But what we agree to is 2 jobs for $200. So sometimes people are like, oh, that's not a lot. And then some people are like, hey, that is a lot. And I can understand both sides of it. And so I really am not out to break the bank. However, it has really changed the way we function as a class, and the clients have been spectacular. They're invested. They feel good about it, and it's helping these students. So just a little bit about the student population. We are high military, but if they're not military students, I'd say half of them are probably low income. So it's very uncommon for me to say stories like this, but I will say, on one end of the spectrum, there's one student I had in 10 years that literally became homeless. But at the other side of the spectrum is multiple students I have. I'd say 9 out of 10, maybe 8 out of 10, are working. They're working one, maybe 2 other jobs. So $200, $400, $600, whatever they get in their pocket genuinely helps them with gas money or insurance or food. And they're great, great people. So I want clients to feel good about helping these students. Now, I will say, every once in a while, students can be students, right? I can't control students who aren't responsible, but it's funny because even some of these students who sometimes lack responsibility will step it up in this class because they want to get paid. So I tell them, there's no guarantee that you get paid if you don't do your end of the bargain. So I started the class with, so going on a timeline, is I started the class and I would give them 1 client in September, 1 client in October, and 1 client in November. And I did that structure for a while. And then I do this form where I send the clients and I say, hey, give me feedback. And the feedback was mostly positive, but I kept getting the same feedback, is like a month wasn't long enough. So I was like, okay, let me like reformat the class again. So as of last year, we changed it and they work with our clients all together. So 2 or 3 clients at once, which is very real world. And we do a time span of 10 weeks. So you have 10 weeks to work with the clients, and you'll be provided via email if you decide to be a client the deadlines for meeting specific instructions as far as what we can do for you and what we can't do for you. So we work for you 10 weeks. It's $200, 2 jobs, and it's 1 student. So you get partnered with 1 student. So each student gets 2 to 3 clients. So let me flip. Okay, so here's just an example. If I'm explaining something you don't see it, let me know. But this is a logo that was created for a nonprofit in Clarksville. And this is what I mean by presentation. So she did not create the stationery or an app for the client, but when she gave the client the work of the logo, she presented it in a way that it was on a business card, it was on stationery, It was on a phone. So I teach the students how to do this as well. Okay, so who have we worked for? So in the past, our past clients, so we've had the privilege in 10 years of working with over 100 nonprofits since 2015. Some of the clients are local, some are regional, some are national, and we recently last year had our first international client. So what happened was before COVID, it was sort of this, you got to meet with your client face to face on campus, whatever. And then COVID sort of changed the graphic design industry as it did with most industries. And we began meeting with those clients on Zoom. And COVID didn't bring about a lot of good things, but sometimes you can sort of see lights in some of it. And this was one of them. I will say that our clients have vastly grown because of that. And now we can have clients all over the United States because we can meet with them Zoom, just like we're doing now. So just a little bit, I'll run through some of these clients that we've had. This is just a handful. So Habitat for Humanity, United Way, Susan G. Komen, so for breast cancer, the Tennessee Kidney Foundation, Queen City Lions Club, and then Parks and Rec, Animal Rescue, State Parks, foundations out of Memphis, Tennessee, Fire Rescue, Bridges for the Deaf, Vet Coalition. So being a military town, we've worked with a lot of veterans. A music college, and then last year we worked with our first hospital. So as long as the client is helping the community in some way. Now, I will say it doesn't have to be nonprofit. I know that sort of sounds like, well, some of these organizations we work with are technically for profit, but they do such great things for the community that we still work with them. So it's not like a make or break whether it's nonprofit. We just aim to help folks who are helping the community in some way. So here's a brochure we created for Free for Life in Nashville, Tennessee. I will say brochures are quite a hot item that we create. So what do we create? So we get a lot of questions. What do we create? This is a small list of things that we created. So logo and branding seems to be the top one. So just a logo, a redesign of a logo. When we do a logo, we do a brand sheet for you. So I'll show you that in a second. So anytime we do a logo, we do this. So we'll do a logo for you, and then we'll do a brand sheet, which is just sort of like a breakdown of the colors and all that kind of stuff. So, and typeface. We also do brochures. That's a hot item. Posters, infographics. We've done forms. So we'll create digital forms for people, especially with COVID, everything going online. They would have to have people come in to sign something or a contract, and we'd say, no, we'll help you with that. We do a lot of forms and flyers. Social media graphics is quite high as well. So to the right, you see various options that we created for an Instagram post for an organization called Girls on the Run. Advertisements. So we do print, video, web, newsletters, packaging, vehicle wraps, billboards, and signage. The list goes on. So I think one of the cooler things we ever did one time was an elementary school for the county needed something, and this was such an odd job, but I remember it because I was like, man, the list just goes on. Oh, thanks for telling me painfully spelled wrong. The list just goes on and on. But there was like an elementary school that they had like these boxes that they would keep like fire extinguishers in, and then they had to like upgrade their system. So they had like all these like old fire extinguisher boxes that were empty, and they wanted to turn them into like little I don't know, like book stations or something. And so we created posters and like 3D settings for the book station. So like the sky's the limit as far as like if you think something untraditional. The things that we can't do are things that are very limited by time frame. So we can't unfortunately do websites, which we get a lot of, and we can't do magazines and like full books. I mean, we just can't do that kind of stuff in 10 weeks. Most jobs we can do. Videos and animations, sometimes. It depends. It's a case-by-case basis. I'll show you some of those here in just a second. So here's a logo and a brand sheet, like I mentioned before. Here's an infographic. So This was one that we did for an internal client at Austin P. So it's called the Clothesline Project. And it's just an example of an infographic that we can do. So if any of the walking clubs ever wanted to show where they walk or a walking trail or how many people walked in some certain settings, like we can do infographics for that. So basically, how do you become a client? You basically just tell me that you want to, but then we have to talk. So once you've emailed me, and I'll give you my email. I know Henry and Hector have my email. Once you've emailed me, I'll set up a time to talk to you on the phone or via Zoom and give you specific details for that semester. So whatever fall it is, so fall 25, fall 26. I would tell you sort of what your end of the bargain is. So like if just for example, I would run through all this with you on the phone. So I'm not going to do this on this meeting, but I'll just give you some examples. I would just say, hey, like, listen, you gotta answer email. If you don't answer email within like 10 days, we'll give you sort of a warning, and then we have to move on to another client. Because we've been ghosted before. You have to give feedback. You have to sign off on things. You have to sign the contract. You have to pay. Um, so once the contract is signed, we get the process started. And then you can be a returning client. So we have multiple clients who have returned to us. It's a different semester, it's a different student, and it's the same fee of $200. So we've actually had clients that we worked with for 5 or 6 or 7 years straight, and it's great. And then we have one and dones too that like we'll contact them and they'll be like, you know what, I don't really need anything at this time. But some people don't even know they want to be a client, and then they think of something at the last second. So I actually take them on and put them on a waiting list. So if say I have 18 students in the class, or say I have 15 students in the class, and I guarantee them all, I'll say, okay, I have to have 30 clients. But say I get 36 who are interested, I just put 6 on a waiting list, and almost hands down every time we get to those 6, because I'm able to assign a third client to a student, or one client sort of backs out or ghosts or whatever. So even on the waiting list, I can say that you probably will be pulled. Here's an example. So client expectations, I sort of just talked about that. Once a partnership's been established with client, meet with the student 2 times. So what you're going to do, if you can do it in person, you don't have to. So at the beginning of the process, we're going to ask that you meet with the student, and they're going to interview you and ask you questions. And then they're going to do like a check-in meeting. So you meet at the beginning, like the first week or 2, and then you meet toward the end, like between weeks like 6 and 8. But we're flexible on that as long as there's like a check-in meeting. And then what we do is we provide you the working files at the end of the class time. So we will give you all the files, and you can edit those. The big thing that we get, so the biggest hurdle that we're facing right now, and the biggest request that we get from clients is they say, hey, I want a brochure. Can you make it in Publish, or can you make it in Canva, so I can edit in the future? Yes and no. So the industry standard for graphic design is Creative Cloud. And I know that most people don't have Creative Cloud just lying around on their computer. And even if they do, they'll say, well, I don't know InDesign. You made this in InDesign. I don't know InDesign. I don't know how to edit it. Okay. So you have a couple options. You can contact the student again, but you'd have to pay them again per hour or per contract, whatever, outside the class to edit your file. You can take the file and edit yourself. If you wish for the student to create something in Canva, it has to be your account. You have to pass on how to log into that account, and we can work with you at that time. But you sort of have to be willing to do some of the legwork to get the student access to your Canva account. Otherwise, we don't take a brochure and redesign it at the end. Like if Canva is not mentioned, we can't just at the end of it just go, oh wait, yeah, we can do it in Canva. It has to be agreed upon up front. Same with Publisher or any of the other documents. We don't just say, oh, okay, now we're creating Publisher. We don't recreate things once they're finished, just first clients to edit, but we will give them off in case they want to edit them. You can also find another designer if you wish. Some students will graduate, and a client will take their brochure, and then the next year they'll just hire someone else, or whatever they wish to do.
For our clubs here at AVA, we have the Creative Cloud, so I'm able to
Oh,
update
great.
anything if they
Great.
need help
Okay.
with that.
Awesome. Okay. And that's that. So, the only other thing I have to share with you is I wanted to run with you a process. So I wanted to show you really quick, like what one student does. I think that'll give you like a good insight of like what the steps are. So let me share my screen again and then I'll press play. Okay, so basically step one, okay, can you guys see where it says project brief?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So step one basically is I will send you an email and I'll say, um, hey, this is your student. And then I'll tell the student, hey, this is your client. So they will contact you via email. And I try to teach them how to write emails. Okay. So some of them really do not know how to write professional emails to clients. So we do get down to very, very, um, detailed, practical things like emails. They will reach out to you. All right. So if you don't get an email from them, that's a red flag. You should hear from them at a certain time. If you don't, I will reach out or you can reach out and let me know. Anyway, they will interview you. So like I will actually be the reason you have 10 weeks. The semester is 15 weeks. I meet with them the first 3 weeks of the semester, first 4. So the first month of the semester, I am basically prepping them and making them do a practice client with me so they know exactly what to do when they get to the real client. And then at the end of the semester, we take a week for finals and presentations. So the clients get 10 of the 15 weeks. So they interview you and then they come back and they give me and other students, not other students, but they give us a project brief. So it's real common in the, creative industry or other industries to just go meet with somebody and then just brief everybody else about it. So what they do is they go meet with you and then they brief the class about it. So they say, this is my client, this is where they're located, these are the jobs I'm creating, this is what they desire as far as look and color and type, this is the deadline. So this one you're seeing is a very short project brief of a logo. This was before we did the 10-week time period. And they give it to me, right? So then no one sees this but me, it's just practice. So then they do the contract. I'm not showing you the contract here. It's a 4-page document. Then they draft up a contract. So a lot of graphic designers just don't know how to do a contract, and then they're thrown into it when they go into the real world and they get a client, and then they're like, I've never done a client, I've never done a contract. So what I do is I actually do a contract. We go through all the legal jargon, and then we send it to you, and you guys digitally sign it. And I teach them how to send a contract that is digitally signed. So you guys shouldn't have to sign anything and scan it back in. You guys can read the legal jargon. So I'll be honest about this. Yes, there is legal jargon. Yes, it is legally binding. However, I tell every client this. It would cost us more to drive to a courthouse in gas money than to sue somebody. We are not going to ever sue somebody just because the contract is legally binding. We hope that the client holds up their end of the deal, and we will hold up our end of the deal. But things happen. There's caveats. As I mentioned, I had a student, not the homeless student, but I had another student about 2 or 3 years ago, and I think she may have had a walking club. And she, right in the middle of it, her mom was arrested. I won't get into the details of that, but that really did put quite a loophole into the process of all of her classes, not just mine. So I try to step in and help her. And so there are things that are caveats that where students maybe can't hold up their end of the deal, and then clients as well. So I've had 2 or 3 clients who will say, I didn't see this coming. I'm going through a divorce, or we had a client last year who went through flood, right? So yes, there's a contract, but it's really just for practice. And I want to drive that home. It is just for practice. I don't think anybody's coming after anybody, but they just need to know how to do a contract. And then after that, what they do is they send you mood boards. So these are very simple mood boards. You would probably have a little bit more advanced ones. But they send you 2 mood boards to say, hey, look, this is not something I created, but I want you to know that I've done research in what you've asked me to do. In this case, it's a logo around the holidays, and you expressed that you wanted these colors, you expressed you wanted this style. This is the visual research I've done. Can you pick a direction for me? So now when I start my sketches, I know I'm headed in the right direction. And you guys will simply just say, yep, mood board 2. I like the top 2 colors. I really like the example on the right. We'll explain what a mood board is to clients who don't understand. We always provide at least 2, sometimes 3 versions of these to just give you direction. This is a time saver. Some people are like, why don't you just jump into sketching? Sometimes our students will get way down the road in sketching and they're doing it just wrong, and they show the clients, and clients are like, that's not even heading in the right direction. So we try to do this to actually save time and make sure that we are headed in the right direction. And then the client sees some examples and they say, oh, okay, I really like that. I really like the green from there. I really like how this is script tight. Um, and so that's why we do this. So the next step would be a mood board. And then the next step is an invoice. So this is at 150 before we went to 200 because we were doing individual clients. So now we changed it. Again, I won't share this. This has the student's personal information, but I do mandate that they have a digital form of payment. Now, you don't have to pay them digitally. I also allow checks. They do not share this with anybody but the client because of address and stuff like that. Um, we ask that the clients pay upfront, not completely upfront. So I don't say, hey, you have to pay the first week or we're not doing anything. What we try to do is ask you to pay the first month. Now, some clients, maybe some of you listening say, I'm not really a fan of the idea. I'd really like to see it. Some will say, well, I'll do half up front, half in the back. Here's what I've learned. This is why we do it up front. In the 10 years of doing this, I've tried every single way. I've tried splitting it, half up front, half in the back. I've tried waiting till the end. I've tried doing it at the beginning. None of those worked. So the best case that worked for me was asking the client to pay within the first 4 weeks. And this is why. Asking to pay up front, clients got too nervous about the result, which I got. Asking them to pay at the end, clients were forgetting and the students were graduating and not getting paid. Splitting it was causing a headache for everybody because they'd have to go through and get 2 invoices and process a check. And by the time the first check came, it was already time for the second check. And so it was just more of a headache for everybody. So we ask that we pay in the first month. That gives you a little leeway of what you're going to see, and sort of trusting the process while also getting the student paid. Now, a caveat too that I tell everybody on the phone, if you talk to me on the phone, is, as I mentioned, they are students. So you have to understand that you are paying $200 to work with a student. They are not professional graphic designers as of yet. Hopefully they will be one day. However, they will make mistakes. You might see something and go, that's not really what I wanted. At the end of the day, you guys can understand what I'm saying. I will art direct as heavy as I need to. So some students need a lot of heavy art direction from myself. Some students need 0 art direction from me because they're that good. What I try to do is art direct as much as I need to still allow the student to learn while making sure the client gets what they need. So I will say it's very, very rare, although it's happened, but I could probably count on one time how it's happened, where the client at the end of the day is just not satisfied with what the product was. So it's like a logo and they're like, I just never got what I thought I would get. I don't see this. I don't like this style. It's been, we've been through 6 or 7 rounds. If that happens, like I said, I step in. I don't ever do the work. I never do that. However, I will step in and, like I said, help those students get to a caliber to where the clients are happy. And like I said, 9 out of 10 times, almost 10 out of 10 times, we get there. And that's sort of the good thing about having a professor with the students, is I'm able to help them, and then they're able to do it themselves once they graduate. So that's really all I have. I'm just going to run through student examples, and you guys can just stop me and let me know if you have any questions. I put some together for you. So here are some logos that we created. Some you can see for walking clubs. You can see nonprofits. You can see the one at the bottom right was for the contract that we just did. The top right was not one that was used. It was a sketch for a walking club, I believe. And then that bottom middle also, I believe, was for the walking club. So
The bottom middle is the one we use for our
that's what I
convention.
thought. I saw it in the email signature, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. That actually was the student who I was talking about. And she was able to like sort of swoop back in and finish, and I was really proud of her. So, all right, so here you're seeing if you go from top left to right, top to bottom, a branding manual. So there was a dentist office here in town in the fall that wanted to create a new brand for something called Clarksville Dental Center, and this student created a branding manual for them. This is a very talented student, so you can sort of see all the pages. So it was the agreement normally is when we do a logo for you, we give you like a one sheet guide. However, this client didn't want her, like his two jobs were a logo and then a branding manual. So like he didn't get two jobs as in like a logo and a brochure. His two jobs were the logo and the branding manual. This was another one that she did. So this was a separate one called the Bluebird Sanctuary. So it was a nonprofit in Clarksville, and another branding manual. So just to give you a little like graphic design. So she was able to do a monogram, so just the B and the S. She was able to do a word mark, just the words, and then she was able to do an icon, which is just the bird. So it was sort of like this 3-in-1. And then you can see here, like the fifth page, all of them put together, the bird and the word mark. All right, so this was a pretty unique job. So we had a company out of Knoxville, Tennessee called GASP, and I can't remember for the life of me what that stands for right now. It's something like something against, and it was like pollution. It was a client against pollution. They've been a repeat client. They've been great. And they had our student create Facebook banners for every month of the year. And they want them to look very specific, and they went through several iterations of photos. So this was a pretty unique job. I thought it was pretty cool, but I'm just showing you this because I want everyone to see like it's not always just logos. I mean, it's a lot of different stuff. Here was so every once in a while, if this is the case for you, that's great. The class receives a grant. So of the 10 years I've been doing this, the university will submit grants to a local bank for classes they think would or could use the money to benefit the community. This is one where at 2 of those 10 years we received a $5,000 grant. And what we did is we split the grant between 5 clients and gave them all $1,000. And the $1,000 went to an event they were running. So it was to raise money for an event. So you'll see a couple of these events. So this is one event. It was run by the Food Initiative, and the Food Initiative of Clarksville. What they do is it's a farm that grows food to help feed the homeless and hungry in Clarksville, Tennessee. And they do a fundraiser called a Hog Roast Hootenanny. So what we did is we did a shirt, and we did social media graphics, we did invitation, a postcard, and then that $1,000 was able to fund these things like the shirts and things, so then they could raise money for their event. This is another one. This is not an event, but this is just a logo and a brand guide for Manifest Magic. Very different. You can see from the first one. I've already shown you this one, so infographics. Here's another event. So we did Big Brothers Big Sisters. So they were trying to raise money through a bowling event. So again, we were able to provide them money and shirts. And what's really cool is a lot of these clients were very thankful, and they ended up sending all of our students like a t-shirt and postcards that they made so they could put it in their portfolio. So that was pretty cool. This is just a brochure for another animal clinic or foundation out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. We put it on templates, obviously, in case they're not printed. So some cool jobs we've had lately is we did 2 vehicle wraps in one semester. So this is YAPAC. It stands for You Are Important, and I can't remember the other one, in Clarksville, and they have they're a very, very influential nonprofit in Clarksville. They help like 5 things. Like they help homeless, they help foster kids. Anyway, we were able to do a vehicle wrap for them. They got a new logo, so we were able to do a vehicle wrap for them. And then another one that helps feed the hungry. It's called Loaves and Fishes. And we were able to do a truck wrap for them. So that was pretty cool. We did, so Hope Pregnancy, we just did a t-shirt. We did a logo that turned into a t-shirt. And what was funny is like 2 days ago, I went to the park and was walking with my kids, and there was a little sign with an arrow that said point this way, and it was for a walk, and it had this on there. It had this logo and everything on there, and I was like so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, my student made that. Um, this is social media graphics for a thrift store out of Franklin, Tennessee. So the carousels has been something that we're highly requested. So when you go to Instagram and you flip through, they want the carousel to match. This one didn't specifically match. However, it was one that they wanted to do. Some more Instagram. So this is a real estate business out of Alabama, no, Mountain Home, Arkansas. And they did social media graphics where they wanted to wish people happy holidays. So they had the student create like holiday graphics throughout the year so they could use them and they wanted them to match. And then just a couple more, a keychain for Vet Coalition, a radio. Um, so, um, so a radio station, and then Bookham, which is out of Nashville, Tennessee. They're like a nonprofit that provides books for kids throughout Tennessee. This is a walking club. So this is in the fall. So this is a logo we did for the walking club, and just for her presentation, she put it on a hats. I believe she also did a banner. She did a banner, which was good that they were able to use for that. And then the same client, this was his second job. So the 2 jobs that he did was he did a brochure for YAPAC, and then he also did a vehicle wrap. Another, it's not quite a logo. It was just t-shirt design. They didn't use this as a logo, but these are icons for a website. So I wanted to show this one. I think maybe this is the last one, maybe second to last. I want to show this one because it's icons for a website, and they only spoke Spanish. So I have the wrong client at the bottom, so I apologize. But it was a company that only spoke Spanish, and we were able to connect them with a bilingual student. So being in a military town, I'm shocked at how many of our students are bilingual, but it's great. So for anybody, I will say I don't know outside of Spanish. We've never done another language besides that, but we have had bilingual clients, and we've been able to partner them with bilingual students. And then Habitat for Humanity, this is a mailer. So like they sent it out in the mail. And this was a kid drawing that this student turned into the back of an envelope. So I thought that was pretty cool. So the last one here is videos. So I'm going to just press play here. So these are social media videos we did for a hospital. So I'm just sort of playing all of them. He knew a little bit about video, and he was able to create these. Now they went a little fast. However, you can sort of see that sometimes video is in the realm of things we do if it is something that is feasible and the student has experience in it. So that's all I have. There's my email. I think my email is scattered throughout. If you do want to email me or interested, like I said, I don't know if you need to contact me directly. I don't believe. But if you're interested, it's not sharing anymore, right? Yeah, just let me know. So, does anyone have any questions?
Oh, Rachel, I have a few. So what about the deadline for this year? What's that process if clubs are
Yeah,
interested?
that's a great question. So what I normally do is I start reaching out to clients probably early August, late July, early August, because I get back on campus, I think like August 10th. And so I have 2 weeks on campus before the semester starts. So I would say like early August. However, if a client contacts me in September or late August and I've already got all the clients met, we still probably can help them because they're put on a waiting list. So I would say the earlier the better, and you get a guaranteed spot. However, it's never really too late. If that makes sense, you can always contact me. And then if someone gets on the waiting list and we are not able to get to them, I just tell them they can have a guaranteed spot the following fall if they're able to wait.
Okay, and the cost for this year, do you know what that is?
It's going to be the same. It's 200.
100.
Yeah.
Okay, so just for our clubs out there on the cost, so we did sponsor those that
That's what I thought.
that were interested in that needed the help. So we're gonna do that again this year. So if you're interested, then you would email Rachel, and then we would work out the payment on our end. And you can see there's a lot of different things they can do. I was really shocked by all the examples you showed us. That's really cool in the little videos. So
Yeah.
yeah, does the money that we pay, does that go directly to the student?
It does. It does. So, basically the agreement through Austin P is that if it goes to the university and then goes to the student, it will affect their financial aid.
I
And it's considered award money, so scholarship money. And some of them are athletes, or some of them have the Promise Scholarship, or some of them have the Hope Scholarship, or the Presidential Scholarship, whatever it is. So with internships and this class, it cannot work if the money goes to the university and then to the student. So it has to go directly to the student. That's why I make him set up like a Venmo or some sort of digital payment for a lot of people. And then if not, a check. So yes, it goes directly to them. And a lot of them use it usually for bills, is what I usually hear them say.
Yeah. Thank you for explaining that, because initially I was like, well, why are we sending the check directly to them? I didn't quite catch that. So I think that,
Yeah, yeah. So it's not, I mean, if it sounds sketchy, I promise it's not. It's actually helping them a lot more because a lot of our students have Pell Grants, a lot of our students have financial aid, several of them do. And basically what happens is like financial aid will cap at a certain amount, and then any award money they get goes over. And then what happens is they get penalized for that. So say the $200 is considered award money. Well, this actually happened to a student, and that's why we had to change. Is we went through the university, and it was a military student who was using VA benefits. And in his account, they said this student cannot receive award money for XYZ because of the VA, and he did. And it was a nightmare to get it turned around to tell financial aid, hey, this was just a client, right? So this is a way, and I've gotten approval. The president of the university knows this. I mean, everybody knows this. It just has to go directly to the student so it doesn't affect their financial aid.
and how long are they committed or able to work with the clubs? How many months or weeks or
The 10 weeks. 10
weeks?
weeks. So that does include a fall break in there. So that's only 2 days though. So, and then it includes, usually we try to wrap up before Thanksgiving because everybody's sort of peacing out at Thanksgiving. So it's 10 weeks. Um, and so it ends up with all the breaks and everything, it still ends up being around 10 weeks. There's just time off, but it usually is plenty long enough for the every job that are given to them. If the student works on a very efficient timeline, which they should, because I give them deadlines, to get finished with any job you give them, besides the big ones, like I said, magazines, websites, all that kind of stuff.
Right. Any questions out there?
On that really quick, I do also do phone calls because what I try to do is level the playing field for students. So I will have clients contact me and say, well, I have 3 jobs. I can't narrow it down to two. And I'll say, what are the 3 jobs? And they'll say, well, I want a logo, I want a brochure, and then a business card. I'm like, a business card should not take a graphic designer any longer than, say, an hour. Okay. So I'll say, okay, I'll agree to those 3 jobs. And then I'll have a client come to me and say, I really want this small animation, right? And I'm like, animation takes forever. But what I would do if a student is interested in animation, I would agree to it and say, okay, this client has one job, this client has three jobs, but my job as a professor is to level the playing field for all 18 students. So that doesn't always seem doesn't always lay out to two jobs per student. That's why I always have clients send me a priority list and say, give me five jobs, but give them to me in order. And then I'll make sure that each student is doing the same amount of work. So equality wise, I can grade the same amount because an animation is going to take way longer than a business card. So that's just a heads up on that.
Okay. So for any clubs that are interested, they would email you with a priority list of, let's say, five things at least, and then you go from there. You'll contact them and let them
Yeah.
know.
So what I would do is, if you guys email me, you don't have to email me a priority list. I have a standard email I send back, and I'll say, where are you from? What are you looking for? Because some walking clubs will contact us and they'll say, I really only have one thing that I need, and I'll just sort of help them say, what about this? What about this? What about this? To get them to two jobs. Um, so I would just send a standard email back with a series of questions. So you don't have to send me an email that has any information besides the fact that you'd like to be a client this fall. And then I would prompt you on what I need, and then we would set up a time to meet, and then we'd go from there.
Great, great. Any questions? Hector, have you had any experiences? I know you've worked with some of them or connected some of the clubs. Anything on your end?
No, I mean, no question. I worked with them. We've got the convention logo from them. It's just more just, explaining to them like, what you want, what you need, and then just, you know, contacting, like making sure you keep that contact with them. And if they don't contact you, I mean, Rachel's always there to help as well, to intervene. Um, Aside from that, I think it's just more, just staying in contact and just letting them know what you want.
Yeah. Um, yeah, very much so. I mean, if you guys stay in contact, that's the biggest thing. Everything else can run from there. Um, oh yeah. Yay, the Nebraska Club uses the logo. When was that? If you don't mind me asking, Lori. I don't know if you can type it or not. Oh, okay. Okay. I'm trying to remember which one it was. All the clients sort of blend, I'm sorry, after a while. But if it was last year, I'll remember it. So
Any other questions or comments? Sunset with a couple of people walking. Was that the logo or?
yeah, that was the logo that our student created. Yeah. Yeah, there was another one. It wasn't you guys. I believe we helped. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, Henry. I want to say last fall. Gosh, we helped maybe six of you guys. Does that sound about right?
Yes, yes, five or
I
six.
remember you were like, I think we're capped. I think.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but we like that. I think it's a great project and a win-win. We have clubs that are always looking for support with design and help, and Hector helps us with a lot of that stuff too in our clubs. But there's a lot of clubs, so he's
That's one
oh,
where one of them that the students did,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we're
Yeah,
doctoring it up right
Canon.
now.
Was that
yeah,
Canon?
yeah,
Yeah. I remember that. Uh-huh.
yeah. So we'll be using that for our 50th anniversary next year,
Yep.
and we'll be sure to send you a patch or whatever that gets printed on, as well as we'll send you some of the stuff that we use for the convention, so you can
Great.
share it with the students, so they can also use it for their portfolio.
Yeah.
Thank you for that heads up.
Yeah, no, that would be great. And the students love physical examples of things they created. And something else to note, we always ask the client for permission, or they should before they put it on something, right? So maybe it's their website or something like they're allowed to show it in their school portfolio once they leave or they create their website. We strongly advise them to reach out to the clients and just get permission and say, is this okay to put on the website, and 99% of the time it is, but it's just courtesy to ask the client that.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rachel. Again, I think it's a great partnership, and you know, we can help out the students with their career, and they're helping out our clubs with their growth and development. Who knows, maybe one day they'll join one of our clubs and become a walker as well. And so
Yeah.
we appreciate it, and hopefully we'll see you around and maybe at the next convention.
Yeah, no, I hope so. I'm sorry I couldn't make it this year. We had our senior show like the next night or the night before. I couldn't remember, but I do want to thank everybody here. I want to thank you guys because, you know, after 10 years of doing this and having clients, there have been some tough clients. And you guys are never one of them. Ever. Like I never have to put out any fires with walking clubs. So I do want to thank you for that because everyone who signed up to be a client has always been very kind to our student. And I think they have the student's best interest at heart. So I do appreciate that. And I appreciate you reaching out and supporting us because it's folks like you the reason we can do the class. So I do want to say thank you very much, and thank you for asking me to speak. And I hope that I can continue to speak as much as I can, or show up one of these days to one of these things.
That's great. Thank you all. Don't forget to send your email if you're interested, or if you know another club that might be interested in the support, have them send their email to Rachel. We'll get that on the website as well as in the next checkpoint. Again, but thank you all and have a good
Yeah.
night.
Or if you have any other friend that has a nonprofit too, you can let them know. So,
You
all
all.
right, you guys have a wonderful night. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you.